In a previous job, I did Meibo training. It was teaching you how to not get murdered when somebody wants to murder you, which happened quite a lot in my old job. It was basically you use open palms and non-threatening shoulder placement to de-escalate the murderous rage. It was a load of rubbish. Question is this Meibo a load of rubbish, or can it stand up to the spec monster that is the Pagani 1639? On YouTube, there are plenty of videos where people will compare an expensive watch to the homage of that watch that costs a fraction of the price. But what if you could compare that homage watch to another homage that cost a fraction of that fraction? Here comes the Meibo.
So here we have my Pagani 1639 Submariner Homage in green, the Hulk. This is a lovely quality homage to the original Submariner. I picked this up in the recent AliExpress sale for 54 quid, including taxes and delivery. Absolute bargain. It's a spec monster. Here we have the Meibo Submariner Homage. I picked this up in the AliExpress sale on the 3 for $6 offer, so in sterling that's £1.65. With taxes came in at just under £2. So £2, £54. This is 27 times cheaper than this. This is about 185 times cheaper than the Rolex. But let's see, for 27 times less money, what do you get? How do they compare? So let's look initially at how similar they are. They're both green. They're both Submariner homages. They're both metal, sort of. They are both watches. One's got an automatic movement, an NH35. One's got probably the cheapest quartz that anyone in the history of humankind has ever seen. And they are both metal bracelets. We can really call them metal, but tin foil, I don't know if that counts. It's still metal, I suppose. And they both tell the time. And in a way, the quartz will be more reliable for telling the time, even though it's cheap. And they both have a cyclops. I'll show you some close-ups of that. You know, only one of those cyclops really is worth putting on. Only one really works. Spec-wise, you've got sapphire on the Pagani. You've got glass on the Meibo. You've got steel build quality with the Pagani. You've got some sort of tin foil and plastic alloy with the Meibo. You've got the NH35 automatic mechanical movement versus the quartz. You've got 100 meters of water resistance versus 0. I think 0 in this case means that if you get it wet or you wind it after midnight, it probably turns into a gremlin. You've got the ceramic bezel versus what seems to be some sort of really naff paper bezel with a wax coating. You've got a 60 click rotating bezel, which isn't the best. That's probably the weak point of this Pagani along with the loom, but it is a rotating 60 point bezel, a little loose. On this one, it's a faux rotating bezel, it doesn't move. It is a bezel, but it doesn't move. You've got a milled clasp, if we turn them over again, I've got close-ups of all these, versus some sort of pressed tin foil. And you have screw pin adjustments on the bracelets of the Pagani, versus no adjustment whatsoever on the Meibo. So I've got an 8-inch wrist, and this does fit just about on my 8-inch wrist. Now, if you've got anything smaller than an 8-inch wrist, it still fits an 8-inch wrist. It does not adjust at all. So if you've got a small wrist, either don't buy this or eat a lot of pies. Not too bad if you're from Wigan. Anywhere else, I think you're going to have trouble eating enough pies to actually make your wrist big enough for this watch. It does not adjust, it will just be loose. I've never had a watch with a non-adjustable bracelet before.
So in order to be subjective, I thought I'd score this properly rather than just giving you an opinion where I say it's rubbish. But bear in mind with stats, they can be interesting. We share 60% of our DNA with a banana, for instance. And using that same list, we can see that we share 70% of our DNA with Piers Morgan. So numbers can be interesting, because 70% of the watch was similar. You'd think they'd be similar watches, but that 30% is crucial. And bear that in mind when we look at the stats, really, because if it is a close score, it might not tell you the whole story. So I've come up with a score in each of the important areas with these watches, as you can see here. I'll go through how I did this. The Pagani, on the appearance, it's a lovely watch. It has a really nice sunburst on the dial. The bezel is gorgeous, it's crisp, it's beautiful, it's a lovely colour. Everything fits nicely. It's a very nice looking watch. You've got this display case back. And the Meibo, it looks like a cheap toy you've got off a magazine. The bezel is really naff. It looks like some sort of nasty cheap cardboard. The dial just looks like it's been put together using some green paint. It's not very nice at all. Everything's not very nice. It doesn't look good. So I've given it a 0 because it does not look like a good watch at all. The bezel, the Pagani, as I said, not its best point. It does turn, it's 60 click, better than 90. It's loose, it has a little bit of back plate, it's not got the best sound. But still, it's a rotating bezel, it's decent, it lines up nicely if you just wiggle it a bit. So it's got a 7. The Meibo, the bezel doesn't rotate, so it's not a rotating bezel at all, so it's pointless really. I've given it a 0. The bracelet, the Pagani's is nice. I think the only downside I'm going to give it is it tapers a little bit too much. It starts at 21, and because they're trying to get into the 20mm clasp, it does taper that little bit too much to my liking. But it's still nice. It's a mil clasp, feels very good, very solid, very nicely made, fits very well. It's a really nice bracelet. Room for improvement to make it the perfect bracelet, absolutely. I've given it an 8. The Meibo, it feels like it is made out of wrapped tin foil. There is no adjustment to it. The clasp is awful. And for that reason, I'm going to give it a 0. I think it's fair. I think that is fair. You know, maybe I could have looked at giving it less, but I think 0 is fair, especially as you cannot adjust it. Movement wise, the Pagani has got your good solid Seiko NH35, a reliable movement. Really do like that movement, and it does the job. It does the job very nicely. It might not be the prettiest, you don't necessarily need the case back, but I like it because you can see you've got an automatic movement, and I'm fascinated by how these things work. But it's a reliable, solid movement. I've given that an 8, good value. And the movement in the Meibo, it tells the time. So I have, to be fair, given it a 1. And the 1 I think is about as much as it deserves, because that's all it is. It's the cheapest movement possible in a watch. Value wise, the Pagani with all those specs for £54, absolute beast. It's a 10. I don't think that's beatable for the money. The Meibo, value wise, well, I think this is well and truly going to be going in the bin. It's not something that would ever get worn, and for that reason I think value wise, £2 to put straight in the bin, that's a 0. The feel of the watch when you're wearing it, how does it feel on and how does it make you feel? With a Pagani, really nice solid watch. It makes me feel good, makes me feel like I've got a luxury item, so I've given that an 8. It might not be a luxury watch, but it feels pretty damn good for it. The Meibo, it feels awful. It makes me want to cry, it makes me want to hate myself, and for that reason I've given it a -8. So to tot up, the Pagani 49 out of 60, the Meibo a -7 out of 60, and that's, you know, as we can see there, trying to be a little subjective to make sure that I don't give the Meibo watch a raw deal. So looking on the description of the Meibo on AliExpress, we can see here they're giving you some recommendations for what to do with this watch. It's the best gift to give to family. Do not forget the family love. What did your family do to you? How did they bring you up if you give them this watch? I worry. It's the best gift to give to a friend. Thank him for helping you in life. Well, what on earth has your friend done to deserve this watch? If you hate them that much, why are they still your friend? It's the best gift to give to lover. Retain your best moments. When you give this watch to your lover, that's the point you need that Meibo training to de-escalate the murderous rage. It's the best gift for yourself. Nice to yourself. Enjoy life. Geez, get some counselling. looking at the reviews, the top two there, it sounds amazing. Classic modern clock, stainless steel, pretty good impression, date and time work great, the price is really good, you get a great watch. No, you really don't. You really don't get a great watch, you get a piece of trash. A very nice men's wristwatch, classic design, elegant style. I think they are reviewing a different watch. Good quality, not heavy. This dial has nice details and elegant hands, especially the one that shows the seconds. Oh, there's a small magnifying glass over the calendar, helps to read the numbers. The calendar's working, you get a battery included. One of my favourite watches from AliExpress. I worry about what watches this man has been buying if he thinks this is his favourite. Really, I cannot imagine what the other watches must have been like. But this does go to show that care in the community is a thing in other countries as well as the UK. Where does that leave us with these two watches? As you can tell, the Pagani is a much nicer watch than the Meibo. Is it 27 times better? To be honest, it's a lot more than that. When you compare the Pagani to a Rolex, I'm sure the gap would be much closer. When you think, is a Rolex 185 times better than a Pagani? Probably not. But with the Meibo, it's certainly a lot more than 27 times worse than the Pagani. And my thought is just, whatever you're doing, unless you're buying it as a joke, do not buy this Meibo. Even at £1.65, do not buy it. I've seen it listed on AliExpress up to a £5. At that price, it's even worse. But at £1.65, the only reason you would ever buy this watch is as a joke. It's terrible. It's the worst watch I have ever seen. Now, I don't want to say that you can't get a decent watch for £2, because in the 3 for $6 offer, I picked up this Soki little field watch. This was £1.65 also. Now, the strap it came on was terrible. It looks alright, but these little string retainers are awful. I've actually taken one off here. It's just little glued. They're just awful. The strap I binned off, and I put on this strap I picked up for £3 from AliExpress. So technically this has cost a £5. £2 for the watch, £3 for the strap. This is a nice watch. It's actually made of metal, the plastic coating. It looks nice. I wore this to work yesterday. I actually enjoyed wearing it. This cost £2 delivered, including taxes, and I put a £3 strap on it. And that's a nice watch that I will wear. On the daily deals on AliExpress, I picked up this Skami. This cost me under £4, and it's a really nice watch with a nice strap, really nice layout and look. I've enjoyed wearing that to work. Under £4. If you want something huge, this Smale, bad name, which is why I've gone for the matte one so you can't see the name. Huge like an XL G-Shock, but this was just over £4. It was about £4.50. And I actually really enjoy wearing this. It's funny. It's far too big. It makes me laugh a lot whenever I'm wearing it. But £4.50. 3 watches there. Especially this. £1.65. Popped a strap on it. You could wear it with the original strap and it wouldn't be that bad. £1.65. Decent watch. Any of these Soki field watches, recommend wholeheartedly for the price. They are amazing. For the price, this is utter trash. So yes, you can buy a decent watch for £1.65. Not this one. With this one, you might actually enjoy wearing it. You might actually look down and think that's a nice looking watch, and you might wear it for a long time. It will not be going straight in the bin. This is in my watch box and will get a wear, unlike this one. So £2 in the bin, or £54 for something you will keep for a long time, wear and get a lot of enjoyment out of. I suppose the only good side to the Meibo is the most you're going to lose in depreciation is £2. But keep the £2, spend it on something better.